Mr. Speaker, I would first of all like to rebut a statement that the Honorable 𝐁𝐔𝐃𝐆𝐄𝐓 uttered in his speech, and to say to the Honorable Member that my colleague Sonia Parag and myself, we are ministers of this government. I know what you and the members on the opposition side will be. I took an oath on August the 2nd, 2020, to work hard to ensure that you, the rigors, the electoral rigors of the 2020 elections, will never ever get power again in this country. Myself and Minister Parag, along with my colleagues, led by Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, has been working hard day and night for the people of this country. And we will continue to do so. Mr. Speaker, in a few words, let me describe this $1.146 trillion budget presented under the theme Staying the Course, Building Prosperity for All, as good, pro-people, pro-development, pro-infrastructure, pro-business, pro-welfare, and pro-poor. This budget is fiscally balanced and shows how we plan to manage our financial responsibility in a prudent manner. I say without fear of contradiction that this is the most comprehensive, well thought out, and down-to-earth budget that the Senior Minister of Finance has brought to this august House on behalf of the People's Progressive Party civic government. By bringing this budget to the House, we have outlined our vision to continue staying the course, thereby ensuring prosperity for all. Of course, even with oil resources, this PPPC administration has not lost and will not lose sight of the goal and purpose, which are to have better financial management of all resources, including oil and gas, to catapult Guyana's development while making up time for lost dark ages under the APNU AFC rule. Similarly, this PPPC government will accelerate and sustain the growth which we have achieved so far by making sensible decisions and careful planning based upon grassroots information. From 20-year-old Navin Singh of West Coast Berbice, 50-year-old Michael Bryan of Victoria East Coast Demerara, 38-year-old Shalini Fraser of Linden, Region 10, to 18-year-old R.K. Sharma Singh of Region 2, and 76-year-old Samantha Ignatius of Region 1. They confirm that this budget offers hope and a path to prosperity while staying the course. Mr. Speaker, I now turn to some measures in Budget 2024. Mr. Speaker, The PPPC government brought this budget in very troubling regional and international times, when the Caribbean and the world are still grappling to put their economies back on solid footing. After the damage done by COVID-19, there are two wars happening at the moment, resulting in food shortages and scarcity of resources. In sharp contrast, Guyana is blessed to have bountiful resources that the PPP government is exploiting for the human and infrastructural development. I shudder to think, if the other side were in power, they would have exhausted Guyana's wealth, taken it 4 steps backwards into bankruptcy and financial ruins. Mr. Speaker, never, never, never again. Let it be remembered that the APNU AFC had an atrocious record in office. In 1992, when the PPPC government took office, every single sector was in the red. Total bankruptcy. Mr. Speaker, we built this country back and struggled with our people all the way to financial viability. When they got into power, here again, when they got back into power, here again went on the rampage of spending up all the monies in the treasury. Forestry, education, gold, bauxite, tourism, health, and finance, to name a few, were all struggling. In 3 years' time, Dr. PPP was healing the sectors, bringing them back to financial viability while making sound and well-calculated investments in our people. Mr. Speaker, this is progress. Mr. Speaker, this is growth. Mr. Speaker, that is vision. Now, Mr. Speaker, the PPPC government has once again come up with key measures which we will implement to keep our economy along the right path. Budget 2024 does not promise the public that it will significantly increase old age pensions within the first 100 days of being in office like the coalition did. As a matter of fact, APNU AFC had a deceptive manifesto, empty and nothing for all. Mr. Speaker, according to Guyana Times newspaper and 𝐃𝐄𝐁 News, March 31st, 2015, they promised significant increases to pensioners. We know that the AFC APNU only increased the pension by $1,475 on average per year. The APNU AFC administration, whilst increasing the pension by $1,475 on average, thus like thieves in the night, took away the pensioners' water and electricity subsidies. The pensioners were left with nothing. They ended up paying millions more. If this is not sad, then I don't know what is. The senior citizens are still waiting on the newly remodeled centers or homes and other reliefs. That APNU AFC promised them during their tenure in office. Shame, shame on those riggers.
Honorable Minister, you need to withdraw those shames and stop using that word.
And so I do, Mr. Speaker. That is the APNU AFC legacy. And indeed, sordid record in office. So don't come here now to lecture the PPPC on addressing issues regarding the senior citizens. Mr. Speaker, compared to that of the dark period, this budget offers the seniors a more practical and realistic increase. We have steadily increased the old age pension that moved up from a shameful pittance that AFC APNU gave to seniors to $25,000, representing a $4.5 billion investment in 2021. It was later increased in 2022 from $25,000 to $28,000, placing another $2.3 billion of disposable income in the hands of our elderly. In 2023, the PPP gave a further increase from $28,000 to $33,000, and this budget makes allowance for $36,000. Mr. Speaker, this represents a 75% increase. Mr. Speaker, I don't think any sensible Guyanese would fault our government for making sustainable decisions for our seniors who have benefited from $14.1 billion more this year than 2020. Mr. Speaker, let me say pellucidly, this budget 2024 is jam-packed with projects and policies which are geared towards improving the lives of the ordinary Guyanese in the short term and, more importantly, long term. Those opposition seat warmers who criticize and focus on budget 2024 are visionless, hopeless, and backwards thinking. The government aims to build household prosperity, community prosperity, and national prosperity with budget 2024. Mr. Speaker, perhaps the APNU AFC MPs are not sure what position to adopt in relation to the budget, other than the old rhetoric of corruption, racism, and discrimination. After all, they're still battling among themselves to decide who should be their leader, because blank check, the Honorable Aubrey Norton, is too busy visiting Bam Bam Alley and socializing with the bottle. Mr. Speaker, only this morning I was browsing Facebook and came across a newsroom post, and I quote, "Norton hints violence at general elections." In the same post, the Honorable, but in fact, should I say Honorable?
Minister, let's stay away from that because you're going to use a source that's not acceptable, media reports, to impute on the Honorable Leader of the Opposition. Stay away from that.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to remind and refresh members of APNU AFC of a song, "This Time the Long Time." It was also mentioned that the APNU AFC returned to power. Well, Mr. Should, budget 2024 sets the tone for budget 2025 and beyond. While they're fighting, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable MP Desir and Ford et al., according to an opinion piece I read in the Chronicle newspapers and online, are busy teaming up with others in and out of the National Assembly, the discard of their current leader. Mr. Speaker, so their story is bitter. It is sour. The bitterness continues for those on the opposition benches, and is proven to attack their psyche and thoughts about the budget or the people's business. I rather suspect this is why the APNU AFC politicians went on Nation Watch and a PR campaign trying to discredit the budget. Mr. Speaker, we do not want to be in the same category as the APNU AFC administration or party. We are different. We plan for the present while looking ahead. Mr. Speaker, should we build another Durban Park? Should we have a barbershop fiasco? Should and pissing and shaking of genitals scandal? Or should we have another jewelry, bangles, and computer scandal? Mr. Speaker, I want to remind this House of the Chronicle and the UG funds fiasco involving two honorable members of this House. And I'm proud this afternoon to know that we have students from various schools present, and to remind this House that the Honorable Ganesh Mahipal used funds from the UGSS committee without any authorized approval. That, for me, amounts to misappropriation of funds.
Honorable Minister, using without permission and I don't equate them. So take out the last part.
Okay. So I do, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to remind this House also that it was Sherrod Duncan, the honorable member, who also misappropriated funds from the Guyana Chronicle, over 20 questionable transactions. And guess who freed him? Who dismissed him? The honorable member, 𝐃𝐄𝐁𝐀𝐄𝐁. Mr. Speaker, we have a country to run of 83,000 square miles. We are too busy working. Mr. Speaker, our energies are firmly set on building and improving communities in a timely manner while improving on our infrastructure in line with our development policies for a modern and just Guyana. Mr. Speaker, in the budget you will see $10 billion for the continuation and expansion of the part-time job program. This is in addition to the creation of employment for 196 persons via the job bank last year and 863 over 3 years. Over 9,000 people have gotten into jobs directly and indirectly because of this PPPC administration astute policies. Additionally, to address the issues plaguing UG, this PPPC government will look at addressing the student loans and cost of young people's tuition towards making education available for all. Mr. Speaker, we plan on increasing the monthly income tax threshold from $85,000 to $100,000, making 13,000 persons being removed from paying income taxes, which will result in a $4.8 billion increase in the disposable income of workers. $7 billion allocated for measures to be determined after consultations with stakeholders, aimed at maintaining production while containing the impact of the price increase. This is not how the 2020 electoral riggers, namely APNU AFC, hit the $18 million signing bonus. Mr. Speaker, in the meantime, we will implement initiatives which will help the people survive the cost of living. After all, the PPP is and will remain a pro-poor government. Mr. Speaker, the PPP is determined to increase public assistance from $16,000 to $19,000 monthly, more than doubling the public assistance since the PPP resumed office. This will increase disposable income of over 35,000 persons. Mr. Speaker, we would recall the rigors of elections of 2020. The APNU AFC government had 2 ministers handling the portfolio of education, for which my colleague, the Honorable, the beautiful Priya Manichan, now has sole responsibility. There were two round pegs in square holes. Mr. Speaker, more than $135.2 billion has been budgeted to further realize the government's vision of world-class education. Added to that, the PPPC administration proposes to increase the Because We Care student cash grant from $35,000 to $40,000 to benefit over 205,000 school children in public and private schools, placing an additional $1 billion in the hands of parents. This is after the treacherous and vengeful politicians in the APNU AFC coalition who axed same, but had the nerve to fortify themselves with the fat cat and hefty salary increases for friends, favorites, family of the APNU AFC government. Shame. In health, Mr. Speaker, we propose to spend $129.8 billion, $78 billion to further develop housing infrastructure, and not forgetting $22.5 billion has been budgeted in the water sector for further advancements. $2.7 billion has been budgeted for the continuous development of culture and arts, while $4.6 billion has been allocated for sports. Mr. Speaker, Budget 2024 provides a sum of $1.1 billion to advance youth development initiatives. I pause here to address something the Honorable Opposition Leader said in the social media. The Honorable Member said he does not think this government is serious about youths and young people. Mr. Norton should be the last person to express this sentiment and should hang his head low, really low, very low. I'm going to remind this House of his record on youths and children. The APNU AFC downsized the Youth and Sport Ministry into a department. A whole Ministry of Youth was not in existence during their tenure. Little or very little investments, if any, were made in young people's development, and hardly any importance was given to see them excel. There are no scope for young people to be part of the decision-making process. Then, at the level of the APNU AFC government, They shatter the dreams of young people, relegating them to nothingness. Mr. Speaker, as the saying goes, fool me once, shame on you, but fool me twice, shame on me. I say this is no country for old men who only have dreams to offer. This country, under the PPPC, is a place where youths are thriving and have a say regardless if you're African, Indian, Chinese, or mixed. Mr. Speaker, the old must give way to our young peoples. The PPP administration believe in and reward our youths. Training and our youths with training and jobs. After all, they are our leaders of tomorrow in a modern Guyana. Mr. Speaker, I heard only the other day that the Honorable Member Norton relegated and berated one of his politicians on that side of the House, the Honorable Mr. Figueira. I saw you sat there on that side of the House all alone. And I brought a picture, Mr. Speaker, if they want to refute same. Mr. Speaker, I want to categorically state that on record as saying that our First Peoples, who have always been on our side through good and bad times, will not be forgotten by this PPP administration. We will continue to work for the development and the improvement of their livelihoods in healthcare, education, and agriculture, to mention a few. This budget is Amerindian Indigenous friendly and is geared to ensure that money flows from the national coffers straight into the villages and communities of Amerindians and Indigenous peoples. This year, Amerindians will have the National Two Shows Council Secretariat building to host meetings and discuss key issues at a total cost of $147.8 million. An amount of $100 million will be provided in 2024 to support the hosting of the NTC conference and a further budgetary allocation of $800 million to support the land titling program. Mr. Speaker, the PPP administration believes in real development of our Amerindian people, letting them decide their own paths. It is already known far and wide that we care for our Amerindian brothers and sisters. That is why we invested our time and work to ensure that they are paid for sale of carbon credits, which will further enhance their communities. Mr. Speaker, local democracy and regional development are the cornerstone of the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development. The PPPC had to rebuild democracy, which was wrestled away from municipalities and neighborhood democratic councils by the APNU AFC government. Mr. Speaker, this government is focused on building institutional assistance to foster accountability in each community across Guyana. We want to have transparency and accountability in all the municipalities and neighborhood democratic councils. This government has been advancing the infrastructure development and enhancement across communities in the year 2023. Mr. Speaker, this year we will provide direct cash assistance through subventions of our local democratic organs. In 2024, 1 billion is budgeted to be transferred to LDOs as subventions. This means that we will be ensuring that each LDO deliver on their work program. Mr. Speaker, additionally, over 50 million is budgeted for the rehabilitation of LDO buildings in various communities. Some of these buildings are were falling apart under the watchful eyes of the then Ministry of Communities, and nothing was done. The Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development will ensure that these subventions will be spent with the strictest adherence, because in the end, it is the communities that will suffer. Mr.
Thank you,
Speaker,
Minister. For you to conclude, you need an extension of time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask that the honourable member be given 5 minutes to conclude his very good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Teixeira. Honourable Minister, you may continue.
Mr. Speaker, this year, the PPPC government will see the construction of 3 bridges from Wanaina to Wauna, the construction of bridge and timber revetment at Barima End Access Road, and the rehabilitation of the Morocco Road. Mr. Speaker, the progress continues in Budget 2024 with the construction of health huts at Tobago, Bamboo, Aranca, Eyelash, Triangle, and Wanakai, and the construction of living quarters at Mabaruma Hospital. Mr. Speaker, I trust the APNU AFC is listening. Budget 2024 will make provision for the construction of revetment at Hague and Kingston Cokers, the construction of RC Bridge at Hague, and rehabilitation of bridges at Schoonhoven and Carricaria will also take place. Mr. Speaker, let me say that in this budget, the PPP plans to construct plans for the construction of revetment at Mahaika and Enmore, construction of timber sluice door at Buxton, and construction of bridges and Second Cross Street, Mahaika. Rehabilitation of Maibukuri Cattle Bridge and the construction of Meadows living quarters at Platenka Health Center, and the purchase of an ambulance are also planned. Mr. Speaker, we will see the upgrading of a section of Woweta Road with asphaltic concrete. Mr. Speaker, staying the course and building prosperity for all in this budget, we'll see the PPPC government in Region 10 rehabilitating bridges at Dawala. We will rehabilitate creek roads at South Amelia's Ward, Lewis Street, Wisrock, and upgrade the roads at Central Amelia's Ward, Success Avenue, among others. Mr. Speaker, it's no secret that Guyanese saw hope restored to this country, and every citizen has witnessed unprecedented economic growth in every sector in a rapidly transformed new and modern Guyana. This PPP government has demonstrated its vision and leadership in ensuring a plan of action to attract private investment, improving infrastructure and social services, and providing opportunities and improving the lives of all Guyanese through the creation of jobs and the creation of opportunities for all to grow and enjoy a comfortable life. Mr. Speaker, a budget of $1.3 billion is allocated for the completion and rehabilitation of markets, including Hydroni, Leonora, Charity, Monrepo, Kumaka, Sudi. This initiative is part of the government's effort to improve the selling and shopping environment. This catalyzes economic growth. Unfortunately, Parika, Charity, and Karivaton markets were ravaged by fires. As a result, the government began reconstruction of these facilities. Mr. Speaker, Guyana's First Lady, Ari Ali, has initiated projects to develop multipurpose parks in Region 3 as part of the National Beautification Project led by her office. This park is located at Tushin, east bank of Essequibo, and is aimed at enhancing community spaces and providing residents with recreational and sporting facilities. In 2024, the Ministry will be moving to upgrade existing dump sites to environmentally accepted landfills, developing and operating waste management facilities, along with advocating the 3R initiative: reuse, reduce, recycle. This budget, Mr. Speaker, is good for Guyana and good for development. I want to again state that these budgetary allocations, along with the spirit and letter of this budget, will be commended to this House. Mr. Speaker, we must not celebrate the past and present, but I want to reach out to my colleagues on the opposite side of the House to join us to celebrate the future. It is our future in which we will find our greatness. I wish to commend this budget to the House with the words, stability towards prosperity.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. And now for the